Thank you so much for having us today in this presentation. We will talk about our experience with the GenCyber program. It's something new that we have done for the first time last year. And our presentation will focus on scaffolding for heritage Portuguese and Spanish speakers to learn new content. We'll introduce ourselves first. There are two language instructors that worked with us that are not here, and that's Anderson Seidos and Junia Brenner. I'd like to thank them for their collaboration as well. I believe you're muted, Rosa.
Yeah, welcome everyone to our presentation. So my name is Rosa Machado Torrico. I'm a Portuguese language instructor. I teach US diplomats. I'm in Washington, D.C. And I participated in this program because I also had experience in the development of some cybersecurity training materials.
Hi, good morning. My name is Eloisa Machado. I'm a Portuguese and Spanish language instructor, and I teach Spanish at Belleville High School in Belleville.
And I'm Eduardo Viana da Silva, and I teach Portuguese at the University of Washington, and I coordinate the Portuguese program at the UW as well. So this is a fast overview of the format of the course. It was offered in the summer of 2021 to high school students. It was a course conducted online because of COVID. We had two programs. We had Program A, that was 21 hours of coursework distributed in 3 weeks, about 7 hours per week of coursework using Moodle. And we had Program B, that was a combination of those 3 weeks and 1 week of synchronous program that was Monday through Friday from 9:30 to 3 p.m. We had 30 minutes of lunch and we had about 3 breaks of 15 minutes. Here's the flyer that Russ has put together for us, a beautiful flyer for the program. It was funded by NSA and NSF. We also had some additional funding from the Center for Global Studies. About the student language background, we had 24 participants. From those, 6 participants were Spanish speakers. From the group of Spanish speakers, we had 4 heritage speakers, and we had 2 L2 speakers. And we had 1 heritage speaker of both Spanish and Portuguese, which was great because he kind of functioned as a liaison for us between the 2 groups. And we had 17 Portuguese speakers. 11 of them were heritage speakers, and 6 of them spoke Portuguese as a second language. And some of these Portuguese speakers also spoke Spanish, had taken Spanish in high school.
So before we show you examples of how we use scaffolding, so let's review a little bit the concept of scaffolding. So the building of a target language structure over several turns in an interaction. And it's also one way in which learners acquire new linguistic structures. So, and it reads here, so it's a process where the teacher, as you all know, helps students by doing what they cannot do at first. So for us, this was important for the new content, obviously, and allowing students to slowly take over parts of the text construction process as they are able to do so. So basically, we controlled the focus of attention, and we demonstrated in segments the task, and we continue. So in the next slide, we will also see examples of the first level of scaffolding that we did in the course. So for the asynchronous course, we introduced the cybersecurity concepts. So remembering that the content will be language, of course. Then we also used videos to introduce new content in English first. So our videos were in English, especially for the Spanish speakers, and we also had the introduction of cybersecurity topics through our guest speakers, and they were in English. And you see now an example in the next slide.
So I did my MBA HR back from India. I worked as a human resource professional for 3 to 4 years back in India. Then I moved to US, and when I moved to US, I was thinking, I want something that's really that's going to give me money or value to do something in life, right? That's what everybody looks for. And I'm sure that's what these high school kids are looking for, that which one can I do that, would give me good amount of money to live and enjoy my life. Everybody thinks that. And, one of the things that when I was back in HR, I did a lot of dealing with employees, dealing with a lot of their badges. When somebody's getting terminated, I'm asking to return their badges. I never knew this all is cybersecurity. So basically, in today's world, all of us, in some way or the other, we are touching cybersecurity. Either you do it or either you're on the receiving side. So you are in that cybersecurity space all the time, right? So, coming back to myself, I've lived in India, of course. Oh, sorry, did I disappear?
So thank you very much. Eloisa, I believe.
Yes, that's me. So I'm gonna talk about the types of scaffolding that we used for the reading tasks. So we had the texts divided in shorter parts, and we also did voice recording for the readings. We used glossaries, and the comprehension questions came from the general to specific. So we are gonna show a little bit of the Moodle with the part for Spanish speakers. So as you can see, they had here also the numbers, how to say the numbers. And here the first, you just click there, you can hear the reading.
Leitura. Khan Academy. Crimes cibernéticos. Crimes cibernéticos. Paralelamente à internet, começaram a surgir os crimes cibernéticos, que são
So if you scroll down a little bit, then I'm gonna just go quickly. Oh, here you can see the glossario, also in some words in Spanish, tarjetas de crédito, right, to show credit cards, and the difference we used for, so you can see the first question is you can choose. So there's a question and they go back to the reading and they just choose one of the options to answer. And the question 2 is just to copy 2 phrases. That was one of the difference we use, right? So for the Portuguese speakers, they had to create content and explain. Meanwhile, the Spanish speakers, they just copy from the reading. And just scroll down a little bit more. Here's where they could record their voices too, their answers. And yes, that's it.
And for the videos, we didn't have a lot of time with students. We just had 3 weeks asynchronously and 1 week in person. So we introduced the videos in English first about the concepts, and then would review the same concepts with videos in Portuguese that were similar. And I'm going to show a couple of videos as an example. We made sure that the videos had subtitles or a way of adding subtitles. And that was especially important for Spanish speakers that were learning Portuguese for the first time and were dealing with these short videos and trying to understand the content and get the gist of the videos in Portuguese. We also used authentic material that was adapted from reliable sources that were mostly directed to high school students. And we used that from resources like Khan Academy, for some people who are familiarized with that. Khan Academy, we used the PBS videos for teenagers. Nova, that was another channel that we used. And some things from Brazil, like Brazil Escola, that has that young audience as well. So we're very worried about the age group. Make sure it was right. This is a sample video from Nova. I'm just going to play the first minute.
When was the last time you sent a coded message? Well, probably within the last hour, if you've sent an email or logged onto a website. We use codes all the time because we communicate our private messages in public. Without codes, sending information online over unsecured networks or networks with security holes would be like standing in Times Square and shouting your innermost secrets at the top of your lungs in a crowd of millions of people.
And then our activities on Moodle were in Portuguese, where we're introducing these concepts and giving the translation as well for some of them, and keywords, etc. And then the next video is in Portuguese.
Cada vez mais, nós guardamos informações sensíveis e pessoais em nossas contas na internet, mas invasões em serviços como LinkedIn e Dropbox revelam que talvez elas não estejam tão seguras como imaginamos. Com base em milhões de senhas vazadas, descobriu-se que as senhas mais comuns são uma sequência numérica de 1 a 6, o famoso QWERTY, que é a sequência em que as letras aparecem nos teclados de computadores, e a palavra senha.
So here it was saying that the most secure, it's a video about secure passwords, and it was saying that the most common passwords are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, sequence of letters in the keyboard, and also the word password in English. And that's the most common passwords in Brazil as well. I believe you are muted, Rosa.
Sorry about that. Okay, so for the next one, we will talk about we will show you some examples of scaffolding for speaking, so they could gain extend the proficiency, obviously, in speaking. So we obviously had professionals and guest speakers, so we gave them the opportunity to interview professionals, and we also gave them preparation time to write questions. And we also relied on the division of roles, so we assigned someone to introduce the speaker, and then we also encouraged collaboration among students, and they did that very well in the synchronous part. And we also had mini lessons, and the mini lessons were for both Portuguese and Spanish speakers, and we will see one now in the following slide, which will be about greetings, and that's for Spanish speakers.
And just as a note, we use the format of interview of professionals based on the work of Svetlana and also of Michelle Aoki with the Start Talk. And the mini lessons we use for the asynchronous part of the program, but there was an opportunity for students who are available to join these mini lessons and then just watch them later for the ones who are not available. Bom dia. Did you get the recording there? Bom dia, bem-vindos à mini lição sobre saudações, apresentações e pronúncia em português. Meu nome é Eduardo e comigo a gente tem Rosa e o José, que também está acompanhando a gente hoje. Então, saudações, né? Saludos, né, em espanhol. Exemplo 1. Oi, tudo bem?
Tudo bom.
Então, atenção que não é todo, é tudo, né? Tudo. Você pode repetir, José? Tudo?
Tudo.
Tudo, tudo,
Tudo.
tudo. E bem, bem.
Tudo bem.
Então, when it comes to the pronunciation of bem, it sounds like bam, and say bem, bem.
Tudo bem.
Isso, tudo bem. Então, so here's an example of a very first lesson, just introducing to students how to do greetings, right? To the Spanish speakers. And you have mini lessons for the Portuguese speakers as well, but focusing more on writing skills. Eloisa, I believe.
Okay, so here's the final project, right? So just gonna show you a little video, the students could choose which subject to talk about. These videos about the zombie networks. Also, family were present. It was open for parents, and the Spanish speakers, they had the option to use Spanish too. So can you just play?
Então, bem-vindos. Vou passar a palavra para a Júnia.
Ok. Bom dia, boa tarde a todos. Eu sou Júnia Brenner, uma das instrutoras aqui do curso. O próximo grupo vai falar de Zombie Networks, ou Mirai Network. E o grupo é formado pela Ana Clara, Maria Clara e Gideon. Então, boa sorte, pessoal.
Rede zumbi, o vocabulário básico. Um computador zumbi é um computador infiltrado com vírus que o hacker controla. E uma rede zumbi é uma acumulação de computadores controlado por um local externo.
Então, por que?
And we can see that she's very fluent in Portuguese and it's a heritage speaker of Portuguese. We had heritage speakers of Spanish doing presentations in Spanish sometimes and sometimes in Portuguese. But of course, they just had been exposed to Portuguese for 4 weeks. So their production of the language was much more based on readings and much more preparation than the heritage speakers of Portuguese. But nonetheless, it was very impressive, considering that they just learned the language a month before, and now they were doing a presentation about Mirai networks and zombie networks, for example. And finally, just the takeaways from this experience and from using scaffolding techniques. We believe it's a way of introducing new vocabulary, new concepts, and it offers opportunities for students to review and recycle both the new vocabulary, new language structures, and concepts in cybersecurity, which was the case of this course. And I think that was we talked about this in previous presentations about the importance of using scaffolding and reviewing the topic more than once. It was particularly the case of cybersecurity concepts that sometimes can be quite complex and needed to be reviewed over and over. Another benefit of scaffolding, it enabled students to perform tasks above their level of proficiency. And we are not saying that they became more proficient because of the 4-week course, but they could perform above their level of proficiency because they had a lot of preparation time. So that helped people who are Spanish speakers, students who are Spanish speakers, to perform tasks that were advanced to a certain extent, not being an advanced speaker, but just because they had prepared so much for those tasks. And finally, the environment, having a very supportive environment, is very beneficial for the language classroom and for the scaffolding activities as well. And we could see that in the final projects. That was the product that was being delivered by students, and that was clear to us, the benefits of supporting them all the way through the course and having students supporting each other as well. And we'll finish up with this. Thank you very much for your attention.
Obrigada.
Obrigada. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Gracias.
Gracias.
En español. And I think we have 5 minutes. If someone has a question, we can.
There are 2 questions. The first is, that I have 2 family members who work for cybersecurity companies. They can't hire fast enough people with language and technology skills. What more can we do to support international security needs?
So I think like what we learned through this course is that for us, we also learned about cybersecurity as we were doing it, because, right, Rosa, I think that was one comment you had, right? That we engaged more?
Yes, I think that it's important to see that to highlight. I believe that most students, when they join the program, they had a slight interest in cybersecurity, and actually at the end of the program, they became even more interested because they were presented with all the choices that they didn't know they had in terms of different fields, I mean not different fields, but I mean different paths they can take in this field. So that was one of the, I guess that was one of the highlights, I believe.
And there are so many courses online that are available for free that students can take. They are not necessarily in Portuguese or in other languages, but definitely in English. There are quite a few of them. And I think there is a space for language for specific purposes in different programs, and that's one of them. That could be added to some programs at the university or high school. Actually, the earlier the better with cybersecurity, so middle school and high school would be ideal.
And just if you check the Google Doc, there's also added some notes there about a project that the Language Learning Center is working on to expand support for language and culture in cybersecurity curricula, both on campuses and the K-12. So if you're interested, please check that out. And there's also GenCyber programs at UW Bothell, Tacoma, and other places. But this was a unique immersion language-based one. And as far as we know, the only one so far that's been offered. It's really exciting. And congrats to all three of you for working on that. And maybe one last question, if you have time, is what was the language proficiency level in Portuguese of students in your program to begin with?
It was between intermediate, I would say intermediate low and advanced low. We didn't have like a proficiency test in the beginning. We had one at the end, and we got, from those 40 students, half of them tested as intermediate high and got the intermediate high in writing, for instance.